Good evening. Welcome to Vibin with Ashley Live. I'm your host, Ashley Live, and this is episode 217 of my show. I'm so very excited to welcome back Bradley Sinclair. Now, this is the third time Bradley is coming on my show, and he has so much to talk about. So, he's a singer, songwriter, and multi instrumentalist from Michigan. His passion for music started at a young age, and in 2021, he was featured on season 20 of NBC's hit show The Voice. His latest single, Still High, was released February 9th. Bradley is in the house. Let's get this party started. Hi, Bradley. How are you?
I'm doing good. Ashley, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for coming back.
Happy to be back as always.
Yeah. And you have so many cool things that happened to you in the past year, and we're going to dive into all of that.
Let's do it.
Okay, cool. So, last year, you spent most of the year performing on cruise ships, and you told me that you were collectively overseas for 9 months.
Yes.
Which is
On the seas, not over them.
Well, on the seas, right. So I think that is amazing. Can you talk to me about some highlights from that time?
Yeah, definitely. So I spent 9 months collectively last year
Hmm.
aboard two Norwegian boats, the Norwegian Getaway and the Norwegian Escape.
Yeah.
Shout out Norwegian. Should be paying me for that ad. Um, and I was doing a role called principal musician. So basically, every boat has one principal musician. They're the main musician that plays all around the ship in different venues, whether it be the big main dining room has a big stage with grand piano and whatnot. So on the first ship, I was doing a lot of lounge stuff. There was 5 different venues that I basically rotated through every day, sometimes multiple venues in one day. Sometimes I was at the same venue all night, but hit them all basically throughout the cruise. And then my second ship that I was on, the Escape, typically the principal musician lives in a piano bar. So I played in a piano bar on the ship called the District Brew House. So then every night I was in there performing, making fun of people, that too drunk and singing songs all by request basically, but also did some main theater shows throughout the contract as well. Once a week I would perform in the main theater, and that's a big band show, so I was singing Rat Pack music and whatnot there. As far as highlights go, I mean, the travel is great. You can't complain about the days when I get off the ship and maybe one week I'm laying on a beach in Barbados, and the next week I'm walking through the streets of Italy. So it was a pretty cool opportunity to get to experience a lot in a very condensed amount of time.
Yeah. And when you think of your 2023, you were traveling and you were performing so extensively. So, because you're performing so much on the cruises, how do you prepare for something like that?
It's a great question. It is very strenuous. The first contract was definitely the first month was pretty rough.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thankful for it now because my stamina is so much better than I thought it could be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was doing 6 nights a week, about 4 hours a night of singing. So
Wow.
it's a lot, and it's strenuous. So you got to really practice healthy voice techniques and being healthy with your voice when you're not performing, especially.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I don't drink very much anyway, so that wasn't much of an issue, but making sure that you're not drinking too much, because that can restrict your voice pretty intensely. But just staying healthy, getting exercise. I got sick like 3 times within the first 2 months that I was on the ship, like 3-week-long colds, just because of overworking. So, and then it sort of, my stamina started building up, and like we always do, I adapted and made it work.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, so you're performing like 4 hours a night. That is a lot on your body, on on your voice. So,
Yeah.
do you have when you're, I guess, not performing on these ships, are you just silent? Like, are you trying to not say anything to protect your instrument?
Yeah, it sort of depends because you want to make friends, right, with other performers and entertainers and crew members on the ship. So, uh, maintaining that balance of like still trying to have some sort of like social life for
Yeah.
your mental health reasons, and then also, uh, preserving my job. Basically, if you lose your voice too bad or can't sing, they replace you. So,
Of course.
um, so yeah, I mean, most days it's sort of my schedule was on cruises. For people that don't cruise a lot, there's sea days and then there's port days. So there's some days that you don't touch land the whole day, so you're on the boat all day, and they plan those obviously intentionally so that they make more money, so that people are on the ship drinking and playing games
Hmm.
and going to the casino and that type of stuff. And then there's port days, and port days I'm still performing every night, but at least I can get off the ship. So on sea days, I basically kept to myself all day, and that was sort of intentional to, well, multiple reasons. It was intentional to preserve my voice, and there wasn't anything to do anyways, unless I wanted to go hang out with a bunch of drunk cruisers, which not my scene. So,
Totally.
and then on port days, obviously, there's a lot of places that I want to explore when I have the opportunity. So it was definitely tougher at times to like be reserved in certain areas than it was in other areas. Like, for example, for about a month and a half, we were repeating a cruise in Northeast United States and Canada. So like Maine and Rhode Island. And while those places were beautiful, we were there like 5 weeks in a row. So I
Yeah.
went once or twice to each one. And then when we were repeating, I was like, I don't need to get off the boat today. Or if
Right.
I did, I was like, I don't need to do something today. I'm just going to go sit at a coffee shop and keep my mouth shut. But then obviously when you're in other places, like we did a transatlantic and then we were in the Mediterranean for 2 months. So I'm in all these countries I've never been to, amazing, famous cities with wonderful food and entertainment. And I'm like, I'm just gonna hope, cross my fingers, try not to yell,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna enjoy myself as well.
Definitely, because there's so many amazing experiences that you get when you're on the ship. So you told me 21 countries you went to?
Yeah, 21 new countries,
Wild.
just in 1 year last year, which is crazy. I thought that I had been to a lot of countries before, which was
Mhm.
17, and then 21 new ones, and now I'm up to 38, which I never thought I would jump that much in a single year. But
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. They're sort of like asterisk. I don't know if you can count all of them. I don't know what counts as be like if I get to add it to the list, because most of the days it was about 6 to 8 hours of exploring the city.
Mhm.
Um, and then you get back on the boat in the late afternoon or evening and you drive overnight to a new country or a new city in that country. So
Yeah.
I count it, just to say I've been there.
I mean, honestly, I would count it even if you got off the ship and you spent an hour there. Like, I would count that.
Yeah, I think stepping foot on land, like for example, Newport, Rhode Island, I never once got off in the 6 weeks. So I've like looked at it from a boat, but I never got off there. So I don't think I can say that I've been to Newport, Rhode Island.
You saw it from a distance, but you never really like were in the know. Like,
No, my feet did not touch land.
so okay. So of the countries you visited, I'm sure you have countless highlights and stories. Can you talk about a couple of cool experiences that you had?
Sure, totally. I mean, Europe, obviously being from America, when you get to go to Europe, it's really cool. Same thing for Europeans. They'll have to come to the United States. The Caribbean's awesome. I told this to my mom after like the first couple months being on the ship, and she about disowned me because I said, I'm sort of getting tired of the Caribbean, mom. And she was like, what are you talking about? It's perfect weather. I was like, yeah, no, but it's like every day I'm in beaches and hot weather, and I'm like, I sort of want to see a building.
Yeah.
But the Caribbean's beautiful. My favorite is probably like the Mediterranean area of the Slavic countries, so Croatia, Greece,
Mhm.
Was unbelievable. Italy obviously is amazing, but I was blown away with Croatia.
Yeah.
We went to 4 or 5 cities in Croatia: Dubrovnik, Split, Rijeka. But Dubrovnik was crazy. Dubrovnik blew me away. It's where they filmed the Game of Thrones series.
Okay.
The town of Dubrovnik is King's Landing. If you've seen, we have
Yeah.
the Game of Thrones people there, but I was not expecting what it was. I don't know, but I guess from a U.S. perspective, we sort of see like Croatia as like, well, there was this crazy war like less than 20 years ago. So what is it going to be like? And it was stunning. Like it was everyone was so nice. It was clean. The water, it's right on like the coast, and there's all these islands right off of it, like little islands. And the water there is clear blue, crystal, like better than the Caribbean somehow,
Yeah.
like clearer, bluer than the Caribbean. And I rented a jet ski one day just by myself, and I rode around for like 4.5 hours, and that was easily like the best day that I had on the ship. Was just they gave me like a little anchor so I could go to a bunch of islands, and they gave me like a little mask and snorkel. And it was crazy. I was like riding up next to these crazy mega yachts in Dubrovnik, just about to throw up, realizing how much money those people have. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was ridiculous. I don't know why people don't talk about it anymore, but Dubrovnik, of the 38 countries I've been to, is probably top 3 like most beautiful and cool towns. Just overall, it's either number 1 or number 2 of places I've been.
Awesome. So it's got to be so wild because you're on this jet ski, like by yourself, just living, like having an awesome time.
It was a weird experience. I like FaceTimed my mom when I was in a thing, and she was like, "You're just alone?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "Oh no!" Of course, moms, they're like, "What do you mean you're alone? Why aren't you with somebody?" And I'm like, "This is awesome."
That's how moms are. They're like,
Yeah,
why are you alone? Like you need to be with
exactly.
people.
And I was all excited about exploring alone, and she was like, "What do you mean you're alone?" Yeah, it was very cool.
Awesome. How was the food there?
Oh, in Dubrovnik?
Yeah.
In Croatia, awesome. It's a super big seafood area, Croatia, because it's right there on the coast. So seafood's unbelievable. The next time we were in Dubrovnik, me and a buddy rented a car and we drove out to a winery, actually, which was really cool. And then we stopped at this little shack restaurant that was like right on this cove, where we had the most fresh mussels I've ever seen. And when I mean fresh, we ordered, and then we watched our waiter walk down to the dock and grab a line and bring in this crate that catches the
Wow.
mussels basically, and put them into a bucket, brought them up, steamed them, and brought them out to our table. So those were amazing. They also do these like meat pies with like this really flaky, like doughy crust thing, and those are unbelievable too. Yeah, the food's great. It's traditional for that area. I don't know if I would offend anybody by saying like it's similar to maybe what you would see in like Greece. Definitely not the same, but maybe a little similar as far as like the meat pies and the way that they eat things.
When you said like meat pies, I kind of was thinking of spinach pie, right? Like the squares with it kind of like that crust.
Yeah, a little bit, but like way flakier. Like the spinach pies are like croissant crusts, right? Is that what you're talking about? Like you find it and stuff like bakeries.
You get it all over yourself when you eat it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. This is like it's like an oily flaky though. So it doesn't like crumble everywhere.
Yeah.
Very good. I know what you're talking about. The spinach ones, the same thing you get in like you can get like the ham and cheese ones and whatnot. And then, yeah, you look down and there's half of it.
It's just everywhere. You have more on the front of you than you do in your actual mouth.
But it's worth every bit.
It is so worth it.
Yeah.
So then to finish off in 2023, you released your Christmas album. So congratulations on that. Can you talk to us about what inspired you to pursue this project?
Yeah, for sure. I started doing a big band jazz Christmas show in my hometown of Grand Rapids, Michigan, 3 years ago. So 2021 was the first Christmas that we did it. I got connected. I've always loved like jazz, big band music, Frank Sinatra, Michael Bublé, like one of the first songs I ever learned Piano was actually the first song I ever learned on piano was Michael Bublé's Haven't Met You Yet. Yeah. And then obviously looking into why Michael Bublé exists, I found Frank and Dean and Sammy and all them. So fell in love with big band music, jazz music, that crooner era. I just don't think it gets better than that. Yeah. And I ended up getting connected. One of my best buddies from home and still one of my best buddies is a ridiculous jazz musician. He just graduated from Michigan State University's master program. And he's a saxophone player and a upright bass player. Mm-hmm. And MSU has like one of the top 3 jazz programs in the country. They win all the awards every year. It's pretty awesome. But anyways, I got connected with him to all his buddies that also play. And that started about 4 years ago when I first started getting into that genre. And since I've developed a big group of friends and I have a lot of musicians now that I can call on to sort of form my band. But we did our first show and we were real aggressive with doing a 2 shows in one night, even though we had no idea if it was going to go well. It was still towards the end of COVID. So the capacity, the venue was down a little bit, but we sold out both shows by the hair of our chin the first year. And it was a big hit. Yeah. And then the next year, the booking got messed up and he forgot to reserve a weekend before Christmas for me. So we had to do it on a Thursday. Mm-hmm. So I did 1 show, but the venue was back to full capacity. But then that sold out like a month and a half before it started. And we were like, oh crap. Okay. People like the big band Christmas stuff. It's sort of a nice niche it's easy to sell, right? People don't have a lot of plans. They're all sort of bundled in their homes around the holidays at that time. So it's easy to get people to come to the show. And so it did really well. Like I said, we sold out. We got a lot of great feedback. And I said after the first year we did it, I was like, this is awesome. We should record a record, but it was just sort of talk. And then the next year we did it, I was like, all right, like we got to record a record next year. So come spring of 2023, while I'm on the boat, I'm coordinating with my buddy Sam, who's the bass player and saxophone player, and my friend Eric, who is also a saxophone player who lives and works down in Miami. And we were like, let's make a Christmas big band record and try to steal some of Michael Bublé's money. And so I came up with the songs I wanted to do, and then the 3 of us sort of sat down. And I'm self-taught with music. I don't have any like classical training, or I didn't go to college or anything like that. So I don't have the ability to actually write the parts and the charts for the music. Arranging the music is a way to put it. So that's their neck of the woods. And they're both really genius arrangers. It's just crazy how talented my friends are at being so young. And so we sort of sat down and I was like, I think this would sound cool if it was something like that, and I talked in stupid terms of like, what if it was like, ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba? And then they were like, yeah, whatever, Bradley, we'll write it down. So it's official. And then they charted the songs out. I called a bunch of guys to record the record. We put a band together. We rehearsed in July. And then we went into the studio for 3 days, a Monday, Tuesday, and a Wednesday. Monday was rehearsal with the whole band. Tuesday, we tracked the rhythm section, and Wednesday, we tracked the horns. And we recorded it with a little big band, though I've already heard a couple of people be like, that's not a full big band. So full big band is 13 horns and 3 others, which would be your rhythm section, bass drum, piano. Little big band is 7 horns and 3 players in the rhythm section, bass drum, piano. So it's a 10-piece band. And then I recorded vocals a couple weeks later. We had it mixed by Joel Ferguson and mastered by Nate Morris. Sent out into the big scary world. I think I released it. I'm a firm believer, and I stand by this, that Christmas music starts on November 1st, the day after Halloween. There's a lot of people that fight me on that, and they're like, no, you have to wait till after Thanksgiving. And I tell them, listen, I love Christmas music. I'm not only giving myself 3 weeks for Christmas music. Yeah. Also, show me Thanksgiving music and then you'll have an argument. But other than Fetty Wap's "Can I Get to the Yams," which is a great song, I think that's the only Thanksgiving song that exists. And I believe Christmas music starts on November 1st, so we released it then. And yeah, if anybody feels like some February, almost March Christmas tunes, feel free to give it a spin.
I love that though. I think that's really funny because you're like Thanksgiving music, and I'm like, what do you play at Thanksgiving? Like, there's nothing, but Christmas music is such a big deal. And then when you think of, a lot of musicians who put out Christmas albums, I like that you put it out earlier because then it marinates. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like people can discover it maybe mid-November because
Whenever you start.
everybody kind of just like celebrates Christmas whenever they want. But I think it's cool that you did it earlier because then word gets out and then it's really cool because it's just like you're going at it for like 2 months.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Christmas music, it's the best. I love it.
Yeah.
So,
And I love that because you had the demand for the shows. You were like, well, we love it and people love it. And like, I think that's kind of what you need to lean into as a creative because when you do something, right, it just depends on how many people are giving you that positive feedback. And when you're like, well, everybody loves this, like, let's just lean into like what the people want.
yeah, exactly. It was one of the first times in my life that after the show, people came and like said hi to me, and I didn't know who they were. So that was one of the, growing up in a relatively small town, most of my performances were filled by friends and family members and acquaintances. So I saw that there was a draw to it, and then obviously it's continued on. It's continued each year now. There's more and more people I don't know. So yeah, definitely, I agree with you that as an artist, you sort of need to be able to tell when something's working and when it's not.
Yeah.
So far, it seems like it's working okay. It's working much slower than I would like it to, but it's still working.
Good things take time. And I think when you're doing what you love and when people tell you that they love what you're doing, like I think it's really cool that people that you didn't know came up to you, right? Because these are people that are hearing you for the first time or maybe came to the show with a couple other friends who were like, you exceeded our expectations. This was so fun.
Yeah, super fun. So I'm excited we will be back in Grand Rapids this year as well for 2024.
Yay.
And I think we're doing 2 nights this year. So because both of these shows sold out as well. I didn't even tell you. The third year we did 2 shows again with full capacity, and those both sold out.
Yeah.
So we might do 2 nights this year with maybe 3 shows, 2 one night and 1 the next. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. And because the demand is there, whenever these shows are announced, guys, get the tickets as soon as possible because you don't want to miss out. And it's a fun thing to do for the holidays.
Super fun. Yeah. I tell a lot of really dumb jokes that might make you laugh. So
love it.
I have a relative that always will come up to me after shows and go, "You could do stand-up comedy," and I tell her, "No, I'm funny up there." But you'll notice that I don't talk for too long because I'll start like sort of losing the humor, and so then I can just start singing again. So it's like I need to cover it up. If I had to do 45 minutes of just talking, it would be a train wreck.
Yeah, but you're quick-witted, so you could just say something quick and then be like, okay, and now we're gonna play.
I get my laugh and I get out.
Yeah, you know your role.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So a few weeks ago, you did a show called The Sound of Sinatra. Tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, Sounds of Sinatra was just a show that I put together. Frank Sinatra is a huge inspiration of mine. I love him. He had a really, really crazy career, and the music industry at that time was just so much different than it is now. So I knew that, first of all, everybody loves Frank Sinatra music, and I had the idea to put a show together where I'm featuring his basically his top 10 songs of all time. So I went through and I found the data of what his top 10 most sold songs were. You can't do streaming numbers because that didn't exist back then. But top 10 songs of all time. songs like New York, New York, Luck Be a Lady, The Way You Look Tonight, Fly Me to the Moon, My Way, that type of stuff. So they're songs that everybody knows, whether you're a jazz lover or not. If you hear New York, New York, come on, you know that it's Frank, right? And you know the song. So I said this should be a pretty easy selling show because people will see it and go, "Oh, I love Frank Sinatra."
Right.
So I decided to sort of make a thing of it with where we go through the top 10 songs. And then I also sort of in between the songs take the audience through Frank's life as well. And so in humor, not to I don't really want to explain the shtick fully because I don't think it'll be as funny when it's spoken about than it is when you watch it. But I basically, in a joking form, take you through through his life, tell you about his career because his career was crazy. A lot of people don't know a lot about a lot of the stuff that he went through with. I mean, he started singing when he was like 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Joined a group called the Hoboken Four, and they like later admitted that they only let him in the group because he had a car and they needed someone to drive them around. And his mom basically like coerced them into like letting him join. And I'm guessing that was probably like she was like, "Hey, he's got a car. He can drive you guys around." And then moving his way up, he started back then. This is the 40s. So in the 40s, the music industry was not like the singer is the guy. The music industry was the band leader is the guy. And then there's just chumps that sing for him. So Frank sang with a couple of band leaders in the 40s before realizing that how good he was, really honestly, is what happened. He was getting paid even for that time, like really little money to just sing as the singer of a band. So when you went to see a show, Frank's name wasn't on the title. It was the band leader's name, and Frank was the singer. And then he heard himself. The funny true story is that he heard himself on a recording for the first time, and he was like, "I'm really good," and which is a little bit funny because most musicians can attest that that's not most people's reactions the first time that they hear themselves sing. The first time they hear themselves sing, or even regular people, you hear yourself talking on like a video, and you're like, "Do I sound like that?" So it was very funny that he was like, "Wow, I sound good." So that's when he decided to sort of to go off on his own. And there's speculation. This is not like facts, but there's a lot of reports that say that one of his contracts that he was in with a band leader that he was trying to get out of, the only reason he got out was because what is true is he had family ties to the mafia, but what's not confirmed is true, but speculation is that one of his mafia uncles went and basically coerced the band leader to let him out of his contract so he could move on.
Yeah.
Which I think is a funny story. And then throughout, a lot of people don't know also that Frank almost like didn't make it. He started off really hot in like the late 40s and early 50s. And then towards the end of the 50s, it sort of tanked. Like people stopped listening to him and he got dropped by his record label and was like on the bitter end. And what's funny is now we say, like I would say, getting a residency in Vegas, like getting to go perform in Vegas is basically like the pinnacle of like that, you've made it in like the jazz industry. But that was what he did when he was at rock bottom because he just needed work. And back then it wasn't looked at like an amazing gig because you were just sort of like a house singer.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what he did. And then eventually he came back and he recorded a couple more tunes and got picked up by Columbia and made it back out. And then was the Frank that we sort of all see now that like 6 years of like misery doesn't really ever get talked about. So it's cool because you learn a lot at the show. It's funny. And then also great songs from a pretty good singer.
Yeah. And I love the history that you gave into that, and especially some of the harder times that he had, right? Because I think people look at musicians and they say, "Oh my gosh, like that person, is lucky, or that person, just got picked up." And they're like, you don't see all the hardships and the craziness and the ups and downs, well, mostly the downs that musicians go through. So I love that you talk about all of that, because all of the musicians that we love, and even some that we don't really know very well, they go through a lot of these difficult times.
Yeah, 100%.
Hmm.
Well, and a lot of them you don't even realize how long they were into the industry before they popped up on your Spotify playlist. Like,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure, I don't know exactly, but I think Lizzo, she was like releasing music for like 12 years before that one hit song finally like hit the charts, and she had been like shopping it to labels for 3 years, and they all told her no, and then finally it came out and everybody was like, this is the best song ever.
Yeah. But they don't realize the hardships and the difficult times that
Yeah,
she.
I think it just happened overnight. Exactly.
Yeah, nothing happens overnight. Like, your favorite musicians have worked and worked and worked to get to where they are.
Yeah, 100%.
So let's talk about your newest single, "Stay High." That was released February 9th, the same day as your Frank show. So what
Yeah.
inspired the song?
What inspired the song? It's not about weed, believe it or not.
I didn't think it
Um,
was.
no, it's not at all, actually. It's definitely like a little bit faith based. I have a pretty strong faith, and it's sort of like the underlying meaning of staying high is my faith. Um, but it was sort of just I was writing. I wrote the verse of it, and like the little melody on guitar, which the melody I wrote on guitar didn't end up being the exact final melody. Same chord structure, but a little bit different. But nobody cares about that. But I guess I'm trying to remember how the song starts. But the inspiration was basically like I wasn't feeling very successful when I was writing the lyrics, which happens often. I wasn't feeling like I was where I wanted to be with my career or with my personal life, and but I still felt like um, I was still like high emotionally,
Mm-hmm.
and so that the meaning of that comes from my faith, but just then the whole song sort of became why does this stuff happen but I still feel good, why, you know what I'm saying, and then
Yeah.
sort of like a realization in the bridge of like um the lyrics there in the bridge is how can you come down when you found what I've found. We all have choices to shut out the noises and the lies, so it's basically me saying it's our job to take care of our mental health, which is also like a very important to me because I struggle with mental health as well. And so specifying that, we have, it's our choice to sort of block out noise from things that are going to affect us mentally.
Mm-hmm.
It's impossible to try to say that it's impossible for the world is never going to change in your favor. So you need to be able to filter out uh, the proper things for your own mental health. Because as much as we'd like to make everyone super nice and caring and understanding in the world, it's just never going to happen. So,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, that's sort of the main inspiration for
Mm-hmm.
this. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, in the lyrics of the song, and you kind of touched on this, but you were talking about learning to fly while being still high. So, talk to us about that journey of self discovery and how it affects your mental health.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm still at like the very bottom of the uh of the graph of where I would like my, career and personal like life goals to be at. So that's where I'm still learning to fly. Every day I'm realizing things about myself and my relationships and my career. And so it just is pretty straightforward in the sense of I'm still like a little baby bird getting thrown out of the nest. But I know that I can still be emotionally um, at the place I need to be
Mhm.
as long as I take care of myself.
Yeah. And I think it's one of those like ever evolving journeys, right? Because mental health is one of those things like we have to constantly work at, and then sometimes outside sources try to get us to make us feel bad about ourselves or situations or people.
Reality
Like,
TV shows.
yeah, you need to like protect yourself.
Yes, 100%. 100%. You have to make sure you know where um, where I guess your identity lies, and that way you can stay high.
Yeah. Stay high and have like a bubble around you, so like some of the bad stuff that happens doesn't affect you.
Yeah, you got to be able to let stuff bounce off, and um, yeah, I guess like one of the lines of it was the pre-chorus. I sing that they wanted more than what they got, uh, but for me, I'm fine with what I'm not, and it's sort of like I know people in my life that I can tell are disappointed with what they got, but it also doesn't seem like they really made the decisions to get the thing that they wanted, or just sort of, I don't know, stayed in one spot. And so um if you can have that outlook that like there's peace in being comfortable with like who you are, because you can't control everything,
Yeah.
then you can you can be fine with what you're not.
Yeah.
Sort of. Yeah,
Mhm.
that line there.
Yeah. And I think it's so important to be at peace with yourself, right? Because like, yeah, people will make decisions and then complain about it, but like I feel like no one's ever really where they want to be, and like you need to be open to the possibility and stay
Yeah,
positive and just like try to do whatever makes you happy to get you through the
right.
day.
Yeah, there's no finish line.
Yeah.
So as long as you have that in your mind, that can help a lot. There's never a finish line. If you give yourself a finish line, you're going to cross it and go, crap.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. And life throws the craziest things at you. So even if you feel like you've reached that finish line, which no one actually ever has, you kind of haven't when you're tested with crazy things, right? Like loss of a friendship or loss of a relationship or the death of somebody, right? So you're just like, you're always being tested in these crazy ways.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I want to talk about you were featured on season 20 of The Voice, and the new season of the show just started. So, what advice would you give to these singers?
It's a great question. It is a very interesting world to enter into. The biggest thing that I talk about when people ask me, uh, when they're like, "How was it? Was it awesome? Did you love it?" I have this very tough time with it, because while I was on the show, if I'm able to like put myself back in while we were filming and rehearsing and out in LA and Hollywood, doing all that stuff, it was very surreal. Like I basically went from like being a nobody to being shuttled around LA and having three different people designing my outfits every day, and like putting makeup on me and cutting my hair, uh and I'm performing on these big stages, and like I'm just having casual conversations with Nick Jonas and Carson Daly and John Legend. So it's like very surreal, and it's very hard to like go from just regular everyday, like was driving Uber in Nashville, and then like 2 weeks later I'm in LA, like shaking hands with the music director on The Voice, who has like 35 Grammys. So it's like very weird. It's a very weird situation, and you lose at one point. Unless you are one person, you lose at one point on The Voice.
Yeah.
And that part sucks, obviously, like really hard, especially if the thing about The Voice is there's a lot of people that lose that shouldn't, because of the way it's organized. They do the head-to-head rounds, as you know,
Yeah.
and when it gets to a certain point in the show, after steals and saves and all that stuff have been made, there's someone that has to go home, even if they're better than someone else. You know what I mean? Like because they choose the competitions ahead of time. You're matched up against somebody, and they don't do the performances and say, okay, well, these two were both good. We'd rather send one of these people home. And so people get sent home. I have a lot of people that I think could have gone a lot further if it was different matchups. You know what I mean? And so you lose at some point, and it's sad and it sucks, and it definitely takes an emotional toll on you. And even if you try to say it's okay, like it's a TV show, this is not like my identity, which it's not. So that would be one point. Don't let the show be your identity. Enjoy it, have fun, but don't let it be your identity, because it'll wreck you if you do. But when you lose, when I lost, it sort of just put this, when I was like kicked off the show. It sounds brutal, but everybody gets kicked off the show.
They all do, yeah.
I guess I was definitely surprised, and so that didn't help with like I was pretty confident in my performance. So like when they said that it wasn't me, I was like, whoa. And so then all the waves of emotions are coming over you. And then now a few months later, after the excitement wore off of like, for 3 months, I was getting like recognized. Like every time I would go out in public, like people would ask for photos with me. I was like, this is so weird. Like I'd go out with buddies and they'd be like, dude, how can you ever be sad? Like people are asking you for photos, like when you're in public. And I'm like, well, hold on, like just wait. And sure enough, like 3 months later, nobody knows who you are anymore. Yeah. So it's a very weird, like 6 month span going from like regular average Joe out in Hollywood, treated like you're a celebrity. You get off the show, people are recognizing you, and then it all sort of like dwindles away, right? Yeah. And basically the biggest thing I would recommend to people that are currently pursuing the show or on the show is just try to like take it for what it is. Like be out there and like enjoy every moment of it, because it is amazing. Like it's an experience that we're so freaking lucky that we got the opportunity to do it. And it's an experience that you may never have anything like it again. Like if we're being realistic, the majority of us that are on the show are not going to get that treatment ever again, or that status ever again of like being out there. And some people definitely will, and hopefully I will, but who knows? Like that's the thing of like, it is what it is. But I wish that I would have sort of realized that going into it, of like, while I'm here, this is one thing, and I'm going to be super stoked about it, and I'm going to cherish it. Because I definitely didn't cherish it enough. For the craziness, probably it was one of the reasons, and also my probably over confidence that it wasn't going to end so soon. And yeah, so that way when it ends, if you see them as separate things, there won't be this like gray cloud over the whole experience, because that's sort of how I describe it now. It's like there's this gray cloud over the whole experience because the emotional turmoil of losing was so intense. Yeah, that it's sort of just put this fog over it. But if I'm able to go, okay, close your eyes and go, ignore that 5 seconds where you like lost your breath after being told you were leaving the show, the rest of it was awesome. Like the friends I made were fantastic. Everyone I got to work with and sing with, like my battle partners, so talented and so nice and sweet. And I have like I have like 6 lifelong like best friends that I still talk to all the time, that like we still get together and hang out. So very, very grateful. So basically my overall, I know that I'm a talker, obviously, as you can tell.
I love it though. I love it.
My overall advice would be to make sure that you like know what you're doing and like know what it is in each moment. Like this is a moment that is going to be very separate from the next few years of my life. So let me cherish this and not, I guess, look at it like this is now. You don't want to get caught up and be like, this is my life now, because it's not going to be in a few months. Yeah.
Yeah.
if
And
you were the show.
thank you for clarifying that, right? Because I mean, I've interviewed quite a few people from The Voice, and I know it's like it's such a great platform for you guys to get yourself out there. I mean, you have worldwide recognition, like the YouTube streams that happen from the blind auditions and the battles and all that is so amazing. But then you're right, it eventually does wear off. And then you're like, okay, so was I on the show? Was it a dream? Like
Yeah,
now I'm back to like where I was 6 months ago, right? So how is that? Like it's gotta be wild to be like I was on the show, but like now no one really cares.
yeah, yeah, big time. I don't have a lot of criticisms for how the show and the company is run, other than they remove everyone's performances, like clean sweep them from the internet after 2 years from them being aired.
Mhm.
Which I guess from a marketing standpoint, the argument is that they want to turn the focus to the current season and performers, but I don't really see how it would hurt it, which is a little bit of a bummer, but it adds to that. It adds to that, like you were saying, like, was that a fever dream? Like, did I even do it? Like, I don't
Yeah,
even exist on the internet anymore.
yeah.
I think on Facebook, the video, like Nick posted my videos on his Facebook, and those are still there. But
Mhm.
like they're off the Voice YouTube channel, which is like, oh, it's like a little gut wrenching because they both had like one of them had like over 2 million views, and one of them had like over 1 million views. So that's like great marketing for myself. I can include those links. I can include those links to like applications for performances and whatnot. Now those are gone, so it's like, oh no.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess you can look at it from a motivational standpoint. That okay, let's stop pretending like that was bigger than it was, and now let's make other bigger opportunities.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, but it's definitely interesting. It's something that I definitely like struggled with, and definitely affected like my mental health. Like
Yeah.
thinking about, oh man, it's like I've been wiped from the. It's like the whole experience has just been like wiped from the face of the earth. But it happened still. I know that. I have recordings, so
But I think it's wild that they do that, right? Because it's like you think of how many streams those videos get, but like they should have them up there, especially because there's 25 seasons of this show. And like I would love to see some of the people from season 15 or like even season like think of the people that were on like the first couple seasons of the show and then like all their stuff is wiped. And it's like it's been
yeah,
such a long time. So it's like, did it even exist? Because there's no video out there. Like
right.
it's wild.
They keep the winners up, I think. So I
Yeah,
think that
that's cool though.
no, exactly. I agree. I'm saying like so you can still go back and watch stuff from like early seasons, but not everybody. Only like the maybe the top four, um, or like they do the super edits of. So at the end of the season, they'll like my season Cam,
Yeah.
who's ridiculous.
Yeah.
There's like a super edit of like all of Cam Anthony's voice performances in one video. So like that still exists. I think
Right.
there's one of Vic too from my season, Victor Solomon. And uh yeah, but it's interesting. I if it were up to me, obviously, I would not do that.
Yeah.
But it's not up to me.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. They should not remove it. Like once it's up, just keep it up. Cause like on YouTube, like we're on YouTube right now. There are videos that you see on YouTube and you're like, oh my gosh, this was posted 17 years ago or something. And it's like, and it still racks up views just because
Yeah,
it's
and they're still gonna make. It's not like they're gonna stop making money off the videos. Like the
exactly.
streams keep coming and the ads keep playing. So it's like
And like you said, it's better for you because then you can say like, oh, hey, link it to the YouTube. And
right.
they someone could be like, oh my gosh, I definitely want to book Bradley.
It's
Like
nice
this
street
video
cred, yeah, to see like
yeah,
this video of him has 2 million views. You know what I mean? So
exactly. So you lived in Nashville for a couple of years. Can you talk about how Nashville shaped you as a musician?
yeah. It scared the crap out of me as a
Why?
musician because everyone's so much better than you are
Mhm.
when you go to places like Nashville, New York, and um, I think luckily for myself, I don't like token myself as a an instrumental musician. Like I play instruments, but like if someone asks me what I do, like I'm a singer, and I think that I can hang with the best of them in that world. So that luckily was okay. Like if I would have gone into it thinking like, oh, I'm gonna get gigs playing piano or like playing guitar, I would have probably just curled in a ball and cried because of how like talented everybody is down there.
Right.
But we're nonetheless eons of singers that are amazing and as good or better than I am. And so it's definitely any type of challenge helps you grow, right? So
Definitely.
that I would also say that I mean, Nashville is, a lot of people think Nashville is just country music, but I don't do any country music. And neither do a lot of people in Nashville. The issue is, as a tourist, all you see is country music because you go downtown and that's all they're playing at the bars. But Nashville is like the number one hub for recording music. So basically every record you've ever loved was recorded in Nashville. And the so that was really awesome, getting to work in some really cool studios that recorded a lot of really cool artists, and then just meeting producers down there. I made connections for the guy that recorded and produced Still High. His name's Charles Myers. He's a ridiculously talented producer and musician. And another producer, Josh Barker, who recorded my last EP. Songs I Like is the name of that I released at the end of last year. And now, did I release that? I think I released that early last year in spring, maybe. I don't know. But
honestly, it's totally fine because you were cruising. You were like
it all blurs together 100%. Yeah.
Most of last year, you were just like on these boats. So it's totally fine.
Yeah.
It did come out. It did come out.
Yes, it does exist, so you can listen to it. But yeah, just definitely helped me grow as a songwriter. The songwriting is like a huge focus in Nashville. Yeah. They do these things called writers' rounds, which started and basically still only exists in Nashville. It's starting to catch on in other cities now. I've been seeing some people doing them, but a writers' round is basically they take 3 artists that are songwriters, and you don't have to be a performer. So you'll go to writers' rounds and you'll hear people go, "Hey, I wrote this song," and then they'll sing your favorite Luke Combs song, and you're like, "What?" Because most of these big pop musicians have ghostwriters or co-writers. So maybe this guy wrote most of the song and took it to Luke Combs and they finished it together or whatnot. And so it's really cool. You get to see a lot of great songwriters, but then there's a lot of people like me who are songwriters that write for themselves as well. And it's basically 3 people on a stage. It's acoustic only, so you don't get a band, you don't get lights. Typically you sit on a stool, so you don't get the performance aspect, and it's really focusing on, let's look at how quality your songwriting and your music is. It's taking out all the other aspects that can make you think that Bob Dylan was a good singer. You know what I mean? So I don't think Bob Dylan was a good singer. That was my way of saying that. But if you do, you have no idea what you're talking about. Anyways, so song writers rounds, and you just take turns. So typically it's an hour. So you each have time to do 3 to 4 songs. And they encourage you to speak about the songs and do sort of what we were doing with Still High, talk about how you wrote it, not as like long-winded or else people will get up and leave. But yeah, basically you each go, "What's up? My name is Bradley. This is a song I wrote about this and this and that. I hope you enjoy it. You can stream it here." And then you do an acoustic performance of it. It's really raw and it's awesome, and a pretty popular thing down there. They have them at so many venues. There's endless amount of writers rounds. If you go to Nashville, try to put that on your list of one of the performances you see. It's a really sort of a nice breath of fresh air of like, wow, look at how many talented people in this world that there is that aren't getting the credit that they deserve, and put some perspective on things in the music industry, and makes you feel good. But those are awesome because definitely grew my songwriting, because I would go to those and I would do 4 songs, and the next week I would do the same 4 songs, and I would go, "Ooh, I need to write some new songs," because I'm doing the same songs every week at these writers rounds, and it sort of makes you realize. And then you listen to other people and you're like, "Ooh, that song was way better than my song. I need to work on my lyricism here." So yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah. So that's all the time that we have for this evening, Bradley. But before I let you go, do you have any final words for the room?
Bob Dylan was not a good singer. Need you all to know that. Bob Dylan is arguably the top 3 greatest songwriters of all time. Also, top 3 worst singers of all time. So that's point number 1. I had to get that out there in the world. I would like to say that I saw Bruno Mars in his Las Vegas residency a few weeks ago, and he took everybody's phones, and you couldn't use your phone during the concert. They actually locked them up.
Wow.
And it was the greatest concert experience I've ever been to in my life. And Bruno Mars deserves way more praise than he's getting, even though he gets a lot. He's pretty full of himself. He probably doesn't need more praise, but he's so good. And listen to Still High, please. It's pretty good. I like it a lot. And then I'm going to be releasing a new song with that same producer from that same session at the end of April. So
awesome.
Yeah.
I love that you went to go see Bruno Mars because he is so amazing. Like, I haven't seen him live, but I did know that he extended his residency in Vegas. He added a bunch of other days.
Yeah. I went on a whim. I was actually out in a different city in Nevada called Mesquite, which is about an hour away, playing golf with a buddy, doing a golf trip. And I saw that his residency was happening. I was like, I got to do this.
Yeah.
And it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. It was, all jokes aside, like just bonkers good. It was miraculous. The band was perfect. He was amazing. I don't know how he sings that high for so long live. Yeah. It's stupid. He's so good.
He is so incredible. Guys, if you don't already, please make sure to follow Bradley. Still High is everywhere. Where can the people find it?
Oh, all the places. Amazon Music, Pandora, Fiverr, MySpace.
MySpace.
If you want relevant ones, it's on Spotify and Apple Music as well.
Yeah.
YouTube Music, everywhere. You
it's
can
everywhere.
buy iTunes for 69 cents.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, Bradley, thank you so much for coming back on my show. I love having you. Your stories are amazing, and I just love being on this journey with you. So, guys, if you don't already, please make sure to follow Bradley. And if you're new here, I'm Ashley Live. This is Vibin with Ashley Live. Guys, be kind to each other, support good music, and go follow Bradley. I'm telling you, his music is amazing. And thank you so much for joining me, Bradley. So appreciative of your time, and we'll see you next time. Have a good night, guys.
Thanks, Ashley.
Bye-bye.